Okay, thank you, Christy. So for anybody who just joined us, we had a switch up in our speakers for today. Our original speaker, Molly, had an emergency arise, and so she was not able to join us. But at the last minute, Gracye McCoy stepped up and is willing to speak with us today. So thank you so much. And so she is the manager for English Language Pathways. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay. So at TPS. And so she's going to speak with us a little bit about the ongoing effort to incorporate our new Afghan children neighbors into the public school system. So you want to take it away?
Sure.
Great.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so like Casey said, I am the manager for English Language Development Pathways, which is part of the Language and Cultural Services in Tulsa Public Schools. And so a few months back, we got information that we would be receiving refugee students, and we didn't know how many, and we still don't really know how many. We're estimating that we'll receive between 300 and 400 students as part of the larger 800 to 900 people that will be relocating to the Tulsa area. Currently, we have had 145 refugee students enroll in Tulsa Public Schools. While they're in temporary housing, our team of partners, I manage a team of 6, and they are network partners that work with our English language development teachers across the district. So each network has its own partner. And so my partners are providing services at the temporary housing for our refugee students right now. So what happens is they move into the temporary housing, and then 1 day a week, Tulsa Public Schools goes out to that temporary housing and enrolls anyone that's of school age. And that's the 1 day that my team is not there. And then the other 4 days a week, my team goes out and we spend about 2 hours with the students, teaching them English and helping them prepare for what they can expect when they move to permanent housing and enroll in regular, like typical schools. So currently they're enrolled in our Tulsa Virtual Academy. So we would love for them to participate in the online learning and Zoom classes and all of that, but navigating coursework virtually in a language that you don't speak and in a format that you're not used to using is really difficult. So they haven't done a lot of participation with the Tulsa Virtual Academy, but they are loving it and highly engaged whenever we go out and work with them. Like I said, we're working with them about 4 days a week. And so originally, we were told that they would be with us for about 2 weeks before they found permanent housing. Some of our families have been with us almost 7 weeks now. So our plan to do a 2-week cycle and then repeat kind of had to grow and change. But we are having some families that are, moving in and then immediately moving into permanent housing. So when that happens, Catholic Charities, their caseworker, gives us a notification that the family's moved. And then our immigrant specialist will go and visit the family in their new home and kind of give them an overview of, welcome to public schools. This is how you can participate with your family, and then lets them know what their neighborhood school will be, or schools, because I don't know how much you know about the Afghan culture, but most of the family sizes are average around 9. So generally 7 children is an average size. So they span usually more than one school, either middle school and elementary, or elementary through high school. It just depends on the age ranges, but she'll let them know what the school is and how far it is, if there's transportation available, and then lets them decide if that's something that they would like to do, is to enroll in the neighborhood school. And so far, all of the families that have moved within the Tulsa boundaries are choosing to go to their neighborhood school. And so then my team takes over, and we host kind of a little entry 101 for the schools, because most of our schools are not used to getting refugee students. And so we we encourage the principal to come, the counselor, if they have a social services specialist, which is like a social worker, we'll invite them to the meeting as well. The ELD teacher and the classroom teachers all join the meeting, so we can kind of go over cultural norms, things to help them be supported in school, and then kind of make a plan for their first day when they come in. And then we transition the students to their neighborhood school. And so far, they've been pretty smooth transitions. Obviously, you know, when students are just coming into an immersion type situation where they're being immersed in a new language, they kind of go through like a honeymoon period. And then, you know, after 2 weeks or so, then it's kind of like, wait, I still have to keep doing this. You know, it's just really stressful. I don't know how many of you guys know a second language, but to be immersed in the foreign language all day is emotionally and mentally draining. And so some of them are, you know, kind of acting out a little bit, but that's something that we can definitely work through, because a lot of our students, regardless of language ability, are, you know, having some social emotional stress this year. So as a district, that is something that we're working on. So let's see, I've got a couple of questions that I see on the chat. So let me read those really quick. So yeah, the question says, are you able to discuss how Catholic Charities work with the families, how Tulsa has accepted them, and how they are perceived in the temporary housing? So I know a limited amount about how Catholic Charities works with the families. I know the educational side of it, but I can tell you that they do have caseworkers that work with the family and help them advocate. So far, it appears that Tulsa has kind of opened them with open arms. It could just be the circles that I move in. But in generally speaking, all of the schools that that we've informed that a new family has moved into their neighborhood, they've been, you know, all hands on deck. You know, it's like, what can we do? Can we support them? What do they need? Can we make donations? Just really excited to have them tell us more about their culture. We really want to understand and welcome them. So I think the overall perception in Tulsa has been one of a welcoming spirit, which is something that we all know to be true about Tulsa in general. Like that's, I've worked with visiting teachers from Spain for several years now, and they always tell us how friendly Tulsa is. So I'm glad that they have that experience. And then as far as perceptions in the temporary housing, I have not encountered any anything that would be a red flag. But I will say that Catholic Charities has asked us, and the temporary housing also has asked us to keep private where those locations are, just to prevent anything from occurring or any stigma around, you know, the families. So we are protecting that within Tulsa Public Schools, just because we've been asked to do that. And then the next one, social emotional needs, which is where the social workers would come in. Okay, thanks, Austin. So let's see. So other things that we're doing for the families and students, we have, while they're still in the temporary housing, they are, like I said, enrolled in Tulsa Virtual Academy, which is why our people are going to support them in person also. But we're providing them Chromebooks, and we have some picture dictionaries that we've ordered in both Pashto and Dari, which are the two main languages that our families speak. So everyone that's enrolled so far that's been one of those two languages. And we are also giving them we have some newcomer curriculum that they're kind of working through, but we're giving them those textbooks so that if they want to continue working on those while they're not with us, then they can do that. From our experience, some of the students in secondary, so 6th through 12th grade. A lot of them have had school before and are literate. Their literacy in their native language doesn't help a lot with the English language, just because the directionality and the character system is different than our alphabetic English. So, but they are very eager to learn. And some of them do have some English because they were taking English as a foreign language in their home country. We do have some young students that haven't had any school experience just because of the situation that they are leaving. It was not a situation where they were able to go to school. So some of them, this is their very first experience in schools. And so it's, really exciting for them, but also they're nervous about attending school and what that means and what that looks like. So we're helping them with that transition also. Don't really know. Do you want me to just keep talking, or do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Does the schools get funding, like federal funding for accepting the students? I know like they get funding for children who need extra help already, so.
Right, so we don't get any specific funding for refugee students. Any student that is identified as an English learner, we do get funding for that. So in that respect, they're just like every other student. And we are bound to educate them regardless of their of whether or not we get any payment for them. So we don't take status into consideration when enrolling students.
I just think we need to spend more money on all students and students that are coming over here with limited resources and rapid around them. So just wondering, because Tulsa Public, the tax dollars you guys get in your district is significantly less, I would imagine, than like Broken Arrow and places like that. So yeah. Is there a way people can support Tulsa Public doing that, or how can we support you guys?
So right now we don't have any specific, all of our funding right now has been through our Title III funding, which is our immigrant funding and our funding for students that are second language or multilingual learners. I know Catholic Charities has been providing a lot of financial support for them as far as their temporary housing, meeting their needs with clothing and food and furniture and things like that. So we don't have anything in Tulsa Public Schools set up. We had initially, when we started doing instruction, like our Tulsa Classroom Teachers Association made some donation of some teaching materials because my partners are not in the classroom anymore. So they didn't have any teaching materials, but we got like whiteboards and crayons and things. And we've had some donations from Morelos, the grocery store, Supermercado Morelos, and they donate some backpacks and school supplies to all of our immigrant students. And as refugees, our Afghan students also are receiving those welcome bags with school supplies. So at this time, there's not a direct way to donate to Tulsa Public Schools, but Catholic Charities probably would be the best place to make your donations.
Also, the Islamic Society is taking clothing donations. So that's something.
Is that all sizes? Like kids and adults, do you know?
Like the Islamic Society?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, say again, I couldn't hear you.
Are they accepting kid and adult clothing there at the Islamic Society?
I think they're kind of taking anything. I think
okay, perfect.
The general feeling like stuff that's like flowy and not, just more modest things. I think they're requesting, but yeah, I know they're taking new as well as used clothing. So
The Islamic Society has rented out a space at 68th and Memorial where families can go. They're open, I think, on Saturdays. I don't know exactly the time, but they can, a family can come, they can only come once right now, but, you know, they have like cooking supplies, like anything and everything that families can take as much of whatever they need for all ages, all, you know, shoes, clothing, any type of winter, summer, anything there is. So.
Yeah, community schools could also utilize organizations like Project Elf to turn in for, they'll also provide shoes, clothing, winter coats, occasionally home supplies as they have available, but they will support all Tulsa Public School students. So it's usually through the school counselor, school social worker can make that happen. And pre-COVID, they would even deliver those items to the school, so the families didn't have to come out to them; they'd bring them right to the school. So.
They also, I know specifically one of the schools was talking about Project School Bell. Is that what it's called? And they were saying that they had let them know that they had some refugee students and they were going to be giving them some extra clothes, because I know when they go, they usually give them some like at-home clothes, some school uniforms, shoes, like a toy or something like that. And so they were going to give them some extra clothing.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know about Operation School Bell, it's over off of 31st in between Sheridan and Yale. They accept donations, any kind of donation. They run a store, and then the money they make from that store, they turn around and buy school clothes. They provide, I believe it's every student in Tulsa Public Schools. They give them a couple shirts. They give them the option for, you know, shoes, pants, winter coat, backpacks, the whole nine. So if they get signed up for it, but it's available. So it's a great organization. If you ever have anything that you want to donate or get rid of. They run that store 20. I think it's 365 days a year they're open, so they're a great organization.
I know if we're talking about needs being met, we also all of our high school students, if they have their student ID badge, they can ride the Tulsa Transit for free. And so I know some of our refugee families are taking advantage of that and helping with transportation. So something else that Austin and I have discussed is we are receiving some students that are over the enrollment age for Tulsa Public Schools, but are very eager to learn English and also just continue their education. And so we're trying to work something out with Tulsa Community College to help them be accepted with limited transcripts or no transcripts to try to figure out how we can help them be successful and continue their education now that they're going to be living here. I mean, that's really the biggest message that we're trying to impart upon our schools when we're helping them transition into a permanent school is, you know, these families are here and they have given up everything to be here. And so it is our job to welcome them and encourage them and support them and help them make Tulsa their home. And so when we frame it like that, you know, schools, they obviously are just more than happy to help in any way that they can and welcome them into Tulsa. But we do have several eager students that come down, you know, in their early 20s and they want to participate in the learning. And sometimes, you know, depending on space, we'll let them join us for the day, but we tell them like, I'm sorry, we can't give you books and we can't give you computers because you're too old to enroll. So helping them understand that, you know, and finding ways for them to connect and continue to grow is really something that our immigrant specialist is working on, but I know Catholic Charities is also working on some of those connections that we can do for them to help them because they really do want to participate.
Do you happen to know who's sort of taking on the English lessons with the adults or?
And for now, I don't know of any formal courses that are being offered. So I think that's definitely something that's a need that's out there. I know that a lot of the fathers you know, they worked as translators, and so they do have English, but it's really that in between age of male student, and then also any of the wives that are here or mothers. A lot of them don't have English proficiency and would like English proficiency. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as OU starting to partnership with TCC, we're starting to have a dialogue to see if maybe some of these folks don't want to try to get their BSW from our program. Because as many people are coming over and leaving, it's not always complete families. People are being left behind. People need help when they get here, as we know. So, I mean, you know, they have a definite specialty that they could work in, support their own community. But that could potentially be a school. And I know our undergrad coordinator here is open to those conversations, as is our director. So we look forward to that. Hopefully with Tulsa Public Schools help, TCC's help, they figure out a way to get those transcripts turned over. And then of course the language, I agree with you, Alyssa. I think English has to be one of the harder languages to learn with all the nuances and things to do. So yeah, great.
Well, I know just to speak to Alyssa's second comment, in Tulsa Public Schools, we offer a seal of biliteracy. So we do encourage our students to maintain their bilingualism. We find that to be an asset, or trilingualism, or however many languages they speak. So as students are in high school, there are some qualifications. We have 2 levels of biliteracy that we offer. There's like a silver and a gold level. And so they take a test in English. They can use their SAT or ACT. They can also use their Access, which is our English language proficiency test. They can use that for the English side. And then we have languages available for language testing in their native language. And then based on that, we offer them a seal of biliteracy on their diploma. We piloted it, and we've been working with the state of Oklahoma to help other districts across the state be able to offer that same seal of biliteracy on their diplomas. So we do at Tulsa Public Schools encourage all of our students to be bilingual or biliterate and bicultural. So
I love that. Like, thank you so much. As an Indigenous person, like, losing your culture is hard. And so thank you. I love that.
Yeah, so far this year, we've had 149 students take the test to see if they qualify, which is our biggest number so far. So it's really exciting to see that program taking off. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think of. Speaking of transcripts, I was thinking about this when Austin was talking. We work with, I think it's called Transact. We just started a partnership this year, but they do digital transcripts. And so we contracted with them to start allowing any of our immigrant families to bring in their foreign transcripts. And then this company that we contract with goes through and finds the courses that would be equivalent, so that our students are not, 17 and being placed as a freshman because they don't have the same credits. So we've found it to be really helpful for our immigrant students to help them participate in college and high school and graduate, so that they are able to move on to college or any accredited school once they finish with Tulsa Public Schools. Helps them to graduate and not drop out or get a GED.
This may be a silly question, considering I did my internship there, but could they go to Phoenix Rising, the alternative high school, or do they have to be just as involved to get their credits? Because I know a lot of the kiddos I worked with over there, they would be close to 18, but like freshman level credits.
Yeah, so we definitely have had that discussion. Are you talking specifically about our refugees? Is that correct? Yeah, so yes, they are eligible. Any of our students are eligible to attend any of our schools. What we have discussed, particularly with some of the oldest students that we're still working on their transcripts, is trying to help them understand what their options are. with Phoenix Rising, the trouble that they might run into is just the pace of the coursework that would be needed to complete everything in the amount of time with their limited English proficiency. So that would be something that we would discuss with them to help them understand, like, you know, this is an option, but they would have to weigh that as part of their decision. And that's what our immigrant specialist does, is she helps them to understand, like, these are all the options and these are the good parts and the bad parts, and, you know, and then let them make their own decision.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you so much for filling in for us last minute. I appreciate the information. If there's something that you guys feel the School of Social Work could assist with moving forward, let me know and I'd be happy to funnel it on to the association here. And they're a great team who does a lot of good stuff. So we would be more than happy to let them run with that.
Yeah, I will let you know. I know where to find you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Doing good.